שורת חדר. זה נראה להשאיר?
Given the fact that the goals of this offensive seem to have changed, at the beginning it appeared that the idea was to dismantle Hezbollah, and now we're looking at moving the group away from the Israeli border. I'd like to know from you, Mr. Prime Minister, what is your definition of victory in this offensive?
Certainly changing the situation on ground in the south part of Lebanon and the north part of the state of Israel is a major and very significant change. In other words, if there will not be any contact immediately between the Israeli forces and Hezbollah, if there will be an international force in the south part of Lebanon, this will be the beginning of the implementation of 1559 resolution of the United Nations, at the end of which Hezbollah will be disarmed. So we are just distinguishing between the strategic goal, which is to indeed implement the resolution 1559 and dismantle Hezbollah, and the immediate change, which will avoid any further contact between Israeli forces and the Hezbollah, will push Hezbollah out of the south of Lebanon, will allow the presence of international forces that will be robust, effective, combative. And I think this is a major change in the situation and a very significant upset of all the strategic plan of Iran and the Hezbollah for the Middle East.
Can you talk a little bit about the timetable? At this point, how much longer do you think the offensive will last? And are we arriving at the stage where we're winding it down now?
Well, ultimately, it all depends on how fast the UN will adopt resolutions and how further they will bring the international force into the south of Lebanon. Israel will stop fighting when the international force will be present in the south part of Lebanon. We can't stop before it, because if there will not be presence of a very effective, robust military international force, Hezbollah will be there, and we will have achieved nothing. Therefore, this is really the most important and significant line wherefrom we can think of ceasefire. I think that this is an unfair criticism on President Bush. The fact is that Syria has been very much involved in providing security and support and assistance and infrastructure for the terrorists in Iraq. You are not talking about a neutral force which has been somehow bypassed by the United States or Israel. You are talking about a very militant, aggressive, irresponsible, reckless, and immature leadership that has been seriously involved with promoting terror, supporting terrorist groups, and acting violently against the major fundamental interest that the United States and Israel represents in the world. So why do you wonder about the President of the United States? He's doing the most obvious thing. He's fighting the enemies of freedom, he's fighting the enemies of democracy, and he's fighting supporters of terror. And I don't see that Syria is ready or is prepared to even avail itself to any act of moderation. I'll remind you that President Mubarak, President of Egypt, not an American, not an Israeli, and our president, one of the most distinguished leaders in this region, contacted President Bashar Assad and requested him and begged him to help the release of the Israeli abducted soldier in Gaza. And he then later said that he was insulted and humiliated by the arrogance and the impatience of President Assad. So I think that Syria doesn't want to be a moderate force that can help change the environment of the Middle East.